So back to this section. Now we are in nerve and muscle physiology. So now we are going to discuss about peripheral nerve damage. So actually peripheral nerve damage means in the name only you can understand. We are going to discuss in detail about peripheral nervous system, because you know a nerve, the name nerve is called only when it is in peripheral nervous system. So first we need to understand some terms, and next we'll start our topic in detail. So first you can see here chronexia. Chronexia means the duration that a stimulus is twice the strength of Rio base needs to be applied in order to elicit a response. So to get a response, we need to give a stimulus which is twice of Rio base. So first we need to understand what is Rio base, so that we can understand what kind of stimulus we need to give twice of this Rio base. So this Rio base is a minimum strength of a stimulus that can elicit a biological response in a strength duration curve. So the strength duration curve I'll show you here. You can see this is a strength duration curve. So this is a strength and this is the duration, and you can see this is a chronexia, utilization time, and Rio base. So Rio base is like a, you can say it is this Rio base is like a threshold stimulus in the case of our action potential. So it is a minimum strength of the stimulus that can elicit a biological response in a strength duration curve. So that is a Rio base. So what is chronexia? You can see a chronexia. Chronexia is a duration that is stimulus is twice the strength of Rio base and needs to applied in order to elicit a response. So you can see Rio base is a minimum one which is required to form this curve, and this chronexia is twice. So you can see it, the 2R means it is twice of the Rio base, right? R means here Rio base. So 2R means twice of Rio base is a chronexia. And next let us see utilization time also. Utilization time, here you can see it's a duration for which a stimulus of Rio base strength needs to be applied in order to elicit a biological response. So you can see here the utilization time means nothing but the duration of which a stimulus of Rio base strength needs to be applied in order to elicit. It's nothing but like the time which is used to form this minimum curve, that is her utilization time. So now let us see the causes. What are the causes of this? So first we have understood about the strength and duration curve and its changes during nerve injury. Now we will see the utilization time. Now we'll see the causes of peripheral neuropathy, or also known as peripheral nerve damage. So the nerve mainly injured due to trauma. Trauma means any accidents or any other situations where a nerve may break, and also some systemic diseases like in diabetes, and nutritional deficiency as like vitamin B12 deficiency, and also some infections like leprosy, HIV/AIDS. So all these things lead to our peripheral neuropathy, and also like disruption of blood supply of nerves whenever there is blood supply cut off to the nerves, as in like vasculitis, vessels are inflamed, so the blood supply decreases. And also in atherosclerosis, fibrous fatty plaque is formed, so that the blood supply to the heart itself decreases. And also sometimes due to side effects of drugs, or for instance some anti-cancer drugs. So anti-cancer drugs may also cause a peripheral neuropathy. So all these are the causes. Now let us see the nerve injury in detail. So nerve injury is nothing but we have divided it into three parts, like three types: neuropraxia, axonotosmesis, and neurotmesis. So neuropraxia means mild injury. Means it can easily be replaced, and axonotosmesis means okay, somewhat severe, but neurotrachemesis is more severe, and it is very hard to replace or recovery for the nerve. So let us see each one. So first one is least severe form of injury, neuropraxia. When the nerve is compressed, or when the blood supply to the nerve is temporarily disrupted. So this is a case where the blood supply to the nerve is decreased, and also nerve is compressed. You can take examples like when the nerve is compressed, when you have some tumors, some outgrowing large tumors, they may compress the nerve. And also some blood supplies decrease, as we seen in before, like vasculitis, all those conditions. So there is loss of function, but only temporary loss of function, and the recovery is rapid within hours. So but some neuropraxia needs several months for recovery, because the of course it is temporary, but some injury may be severe in that when compared with normal neuropraxia, so it takes several months for recovery. So I also have found some important points of neuropraxia, like we'll see the examples where it is, like in crutch palsy, Saturday night palsy, stinger. These are the examples for neuropraxia, and the recovery is completely spontaneous, And here what happens is that endoneurium, you know, our nerve, when we take out a bundle of nerve, it is made up, layer is endoneurium, and you have perineurium, and next we have our outermost epineurium, right? So this endoneurium is still intact and the axon is also intact. Only the demyelination takes place, that too mild demyelination takes place. So there is mild conduction on a nerve, on a block, mild conduction on a block. So only demyelination is mild. So due to demyelination, mild demyelination, it is called neuropraxia, so that it has higher recovery. And next, coming to axonotmesis, here we'll see. So the more severe form of injuries in an axon is disrupted and it is called as axonotmesis, and it is in the part of Wallerian degeneration. We'll also see Wallerian degeneration soon. So remember that axonotmesis is a part of Wallerian degeneration. Here endoneurium is still intact but the axon is not intact, that axon is cut here, and also it is associated with mild demyelination but moderate only. So example you can see like in closed fractures, in dislocation of shoulder joint, there the axon is not intact and it is cut. Now let us see the third type, that is the most severe injury, that is the neurotmesis. It is here the axon along with the surrounding and encapsulating connective tissue whole is affected, and this is the least chance of recovery, that is a neurotmesis. So this is very important to remember. Neurotmesis, you can see here the still uh, here the endoneurium is not intact, so this is very important. In neuropraxia, axonmesis, endoneurium is still intact, but in neuromesis, endothelium is not intact and the axon is also not intact, and there is higher amount of higher dose of demyelination, and the recovery is very poor, that is bad prognosis and surgery is required, and severe conduction is blocked. So example in open fractures, if someone by trauma or anything, the nerve is cut. So all these conditions, here it is very severe, there is a neurotmesis. Now let us see the Wallerian degeneration, important part. So 150 years ago, it's like a social subject now. 150 years ago in 1850, Augustus Wheeler is the first who described the changes in axon. So when physically separated, then it is called as axotomy from cell bodies. So physically when the axon separated, he observed it mainly from the cell body. What happens is, you know, our axon normal structure, right? Here the cell body, here axon. So when this axon is physically separated from the cell body part, then this remaining axon, what happened here, that is that is called as axotomy. So that was studied by our Augustus Wheeler, hence the name Wheeler, you can see, hence the name Wallerian degeneration. So the degenerative changes first take place in a proximal part, next in the distal part. So in the distal segment, so you can understand proximal distal, this is a proximal part, this is a distal part. This, for example, here the cut end, then this is the distal part, the cell body part is a proximal part. So degenerative changes in the distal segment, beyond the injury, there is formation of ovoids as squam cells begin to fragment the myelin sheath and scavenge the myelin debris. So now what happens is squam cells start separating and the scavengers come there, and also the myelin debris is also eaten by them. And there is change in the squam cells from the myelinating to demyelinating, that is now they are demyelinated, and the infiltration of leukocytes in the distal segment means here in the distal segment, you know, like serotonin, histamine, all those release and they call upon the macrophages, so the macrophages enter in the distal segment. So the change in, yeah, where we are infiltration of leukocytes in the distal segment, degenerative changes due to the calcium influx and also activation of axonal protease enzyme. So in proximal segment and nerve cell body, the changes are like, you know, the first node of Runby degenerates and the chromatolysis in the cell body takes place. So there is breakup, you know, chromatolysis means that is our chromatin material which is present in a DNA, means the nucleus is breakup. So you know the breakup of rough endoplasmic reticulum takes place, which alters the mRNA, because we know our mRNA are coming from our rough endoplasmic reticulum associated with ribosomes, and also thus there is change in expression of gene which is supporting the neuronal activity. So all this completely change. And in proximal segment and nerve cell body, yeah, we have seen, and movement of nucleus also moves from the center to of the cell body, and there is nerve degeneration associated with reduced or absent neurotransmitter release. Of course, when the nerve is only injured, then neuron is only injured, then neurotransmitters release is also absent or reduced. And also there is upregulation or affinity or increase in the number of receptors on the postsynaptic membrane. This is important. Remember that receptors on the postsynaptic membrane are upregulated because there is no neurotransmitter coming to it. it thinks these receptors are not sufficient to take up the, so they in turn undergo like positive feedback mechanism, and they start increasing the number and affinity for receptors on postsynaptic membrane. And also the nerve regeneration or exogenous administration of neurotransmitter agonist is associated with heightened response because of upregulation of receptor factors, and this is called as denervation hypersensitivity. This is important. Once again, let us try to understand. Whenever the nerve tries to regenerate, nerve regeneration, or by by giving extra neurotransmitter agonist, which is associated with the heightened response because of upregulation of receptor factors. Already there are more receptors. By giving these neuroreceptors, there is again upregulation of receptor factors, and this is called as hypersensitivity, denervation hypersensitivity. And this is about strength duration curve. Before seeing that, once we'll check out the diagrams of this Wallerian degeneration. So here you can see, first, normally axon is associated with cell body, and this is, you can see, this is the distal degeneration, this is the proximal degeneration, this is the proximal degeneration part, this is the distal degeneration part. You can see in the proximal degeneration part there is chromatolysis, and in the distal part there is degeneration of, this degeneration of first node of Ranvier is also belonging to proximal part, because you can see this is a site of injury, right? Here we can draw it like this is a site of injury. So this is the proximal and this is the distal. So in proximal part you can see chromatolysis, degeneration of first node of Ranvier, and here in the distal part mainly macrophages enter, that is infiltration of leukocytes because of release of serotonin, histamine from this, and also there is change in squamous cell growth promoting. So this is how takes place in Wallerian degeneration. So Wallerian degeneration is nothing but proximal degeneration along with the distal degeneration, that is a Wallerian degeneration. Now let us see the functional assessment of nerve damage using a strength duration curve. Just now we have seen, right? Once again you can see this is strength duration curve, right? So in the strength duration curve, the motor nerves are assessed clinically mainly by evaluating the muscle strength of a muscle they supply, and the sensory nerves assessed by testing for the sensation in the area of specific nerve supply, and the range of tests assess the autonomic function. So the nerve conduction studies also done that assess speed of the nerve conduction in motor and sensory nerve. So also we do this test to find out the speed of both motor and sensory nerves, and the small stimulating electrode is placed over the point where the motor nerve enters the muscles, and this point is motor point. This is important. So the voltage and duration of stimulus can be recognized until the biological response is achieved, that is nothing but a muscle contraction. So in the strength duration curve, we can see the red curve, which mainly gives that Rio base, all those about those ultimate utilization time, Rio base, chronexy, all those are given by red curve. And the blue curve, you can see there is increase in Rio base and utilization time, and also chronexia. So you can see blue curve is having higher levels when compared with red curve, chronexia. And also this curve indicates that there is low excitability, which represents the damaged nerve. This is very important. The blue curve represents that there is lower excitability and it is representing the damaged nerve. So the recovery associated with the gradual shift in the curve towards the normal state, that is the red line. So the normal curve here is red line and the abnormal one is the blue one. So this curve indicates decreased excitability. That is, the blue curve indicates the decreased excitability and red curve expresses the normal curve. Now let us see the nerve regeneration. So till now we have understood how the injuries, what are the types of injuries, what are the Wallerian degeneration, and also strength duration curve. Now the last part is about our nerve regeneration. So the process of dedifferentiation of Schwann cells from the myelination state to demyelination state and infiltration of leukocyte into the distal segment appear aggravate injury and critical to recover nerve in these cases. So the injury results in the activation and retrograde transport of injury-related signal molecules to the cell soma. So now all these cells come to the soma. So these molecules help the nerve cell to express regeneration and nerve growth and also elongation and also axonal guidance. This is all done by our regeneration associated genes. Those are nothing but also called as RAGs. So these RAGs initiate the nerve growth, elongation and axonal guidance. And next, the several neurotropic factors like NGF, nerve growth factor, are upregulated in dedifferentiation. So they lead to dedifferentiation of Schwann cells, and they intact and also they in fact are growth promoting. and are characterized by the development and prolongation of the growth of the nerve from the proximal nerve stump and its extension. So now what happens is, as we said, this proximal and distal part are broken down. So now this proximal part gets attaching with the distal part by means of releasing more proteins from the cell soma, that is cell body. So all these factors, and we have said several factors before, like NFR, RAGs, all these come together and they finally meet up this distal segment and proximal segment, so that now the nerve can again regenerate or get repaired. So the max and squam cells, that is the macrophages and squam cells, are also released, transforming the growth factor beta like TGF beta. All these are. So this extension along the surface of squam cell column in the distal segment. So the distal and proximal segments are now attached. So the injured nerves regenerate their axons in peripheral nervous system, uh, but not in CNS. This is very important point. The final summary point is that injured nerves regenerate their axon only in the peripheral nervous system, but not in the central nervous system. So this is all about our peripheral nerve damage.